Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and a very warm welcome to Government House, Yarralumla. Dawa Nuna, Dawa Nunawal. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet, the Ngunnawal people, and pay my respects to their elders, past and present, emerging leaders, and all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders gathered here with us this morning. My name is Paul Singer and I'm the Official Secretary to the Governor-General. And as this badge signifies with its cross quills, I'm also Secretary of the Order of Australia, the council which makes recommendations to the Governor-General for awards in the Order's General Division. And the Governor-General is both the Principal Companion and Chancellor of the Order. I'm also the Secretary to the Australian Bravery Decorations Council, the body which makes recommendations to the Governor-General for Bravery Awards. Before we start today's ceremony, I'd like to acknowledge that despite the challenges posed by the current pandemic, we are delighted to be able to host this morning's ceremony in a COVID-safe manner. We are grateful for your understanding of and compliance with the measures that we've put in place to ensure everyone's safety. Today is a special day, not only for the recipients, but also for their friends, their families and the communities. It is a day when we celebrate a diverse range of impressive achievements and service. The Australian Honours System provides a wonderful mechanism through which we as a nation are able to recognise ordinary Australians doing extraordinary things. Since its inception in 1975, over 420,000 people have been recognised for their meritorious, bravery, military or national service. The Order of Australia is the principal means of recognising outstanding service. And it's important to acknowledge that nominations come from all parts of the community. Anyone can nominate. As staff at Government House, my colleagues and I are privileged to play a small part in the recognition and celebration of that achievement. I hope we can make today an occasion that you'll all recall with pride for some time to come. Shortly, I'll invite you to stand as Her Excellencies the Governor-General and Mrs Hurley enter the room and remain standing for the singing of the first verse of the Australian National Anthem. The investiture will then begin and proceed in the order listed in your programs. After I read their names and citations, the recipients will enter the room from the doorway on my right, and after they've been invested, will leave via the central aisle to take up their seats at the back of the room. At this point, you might like to show your appreciation with a short applause as the recipients take up their seat. At the conclusion of the ceremony, I'll invite the recipients to join their Excellencies for a formal photograph on the state entrance stairs. And after those photographs have been taken, their Excellencies and recipients look forward to joining all guests out in the lakeside terrace where refreshments will be served. So ladies and gentlemen, please relax and enjoy this very special morning. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please stand for the arrival of Her Excellencies the Governor-General of the Commonwealth of Australia and Mrs Hurley, and remain standing for the singing of the National Anthem.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are young and free. With golden soil and wealth for toil, our home is God's may see. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains, then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
Thank you. Please be seated.
Good morning all, and a very warm welcome to Government House Yarralumla this morning from Linda and I and the staff at Government House. A beautiful spring morning here in Canberra and a delightful day in which to mark a very significant occasion in the life of our recipients, somewhat nervous at the back there, as we're going to acknowledge today on behalf of the nation their contributions to our country. And speaking of country, Government House Yarralumla here sits on the land of the Ngunnawal people. And we do thank them for looking after this beautiful part of our country for generation after generation, and pay respects to their elders past and present. Now, you'll notice when you arrive today is a day of some pomp and some protocol, plenty of uniforms around, everyone in their sparkling vest, and that's as it should be. This is the highlight of the calendar for us here at Government House, as we recognise through our honours and awards system our fellow Australians. Our honours and awards system was introduced in 1975 to replace the imperial award system, and it's very much an Australian system. And what do I mean by that? I think one of its strongest characteristics, perhaps unique globally, is that the nominations in the general division, that's the civilian division of the order, are from people's peers. They come from the community. This is not a system where elites in Canberra or our national capital purvey the country and decide who should be recognised for their achievements. This is your system. I'd ask you to bear that in mind as we conduct the ceremony this morning, because at the conclusion of the ceremony, I'm going to issue you some homework. Now, the youngsters didn't expect homework when they came to the ceremony today, but we're all going to have homework to go back to our communities with. As we recognise the contribution of these individuals this morning, we are mindful that our country has been through a very difficult period, not only in the last 12 months, but indeed over the last 4 or 5 years. Severe drought across much of the eastern and southern part of the country. Floods, enormous floods in northern Queensland at the beginning of last year, and again floods here recently. Our horrific bushfires, only still very strong in our memories, and of course a pandemic. Each of those on their own would be sufficient. The compounded effect on our people has been enormous. Linda and I, we've had our travel constrained over the last 3 or 4 months, but we've made up for that by using every virtual meeting app known to man to reach out to the community, to speak to the leaders of the community, to speak to schools, to not-for-profit CEOs, chairs and so forth, to gauge how the community is faring, to support people and acknowledge their good work and urge them on. After each of those meetings, we come away uplifted. And why? Because of the strength of character, the goodness, the big hearts that people we talk to have for our country and their fellow citizens. And today's ceremony, we will see a microcosm, a small element of that, the tip of the iceberg of the character of this country. And it gives me great confidence that we will overcome what's before us at the moment and come through this as Australians would expect to. So as we reflect on these contributions we're going to witness this morning, bear your homework researching in mind, and I'll now commence the formal ceremony. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, to be presented with the insignia of his appointment as a member in the General Division, Mr. Scott Sadler, for significant service to public administration and as a supporter and mentor of Indigenous youth. Mr. Sadler has made an outstanding contribution to public administration through a range of leadership roles in the horticultural sector for over 20 years. Of particular note, he's been the driving force behind the development and sustainability of the National Arboretum here in Canberra. He has provided superior direction and oversight of budget and financial matters, undertaking strategic planning and management of all assets and facilities at the Arboretum. He is also a passionate Wiradjuri man, and in each of his leadership positions around Australia, he's enriched those workplaces by employing, training and mentoring Indigenous people, providing opportunities for their development and advancement. Mr. Sadler's dedication to our environmental inventory and as a role model for Indigenous people is most noteworthy. Mr. Scott Sadler appointed a member of the Order.
Congratulations, Your Excellency. Thank you for the great local community, both in two senses, the environment so precious to us, and those are the opportunities and your being Indigenous relevance to us. So thank you very much for that. Thank you.
To be presented with the insignia of his appointment as a member in the Military Division, Brigadier Isaac Seidel, for exceptional service to the Australian Defence Force in health executive leadership. Brigadier Seidel has demonstrated excellence in clinical decision-making throughout his military medical career. He has served in a range of appointments, notably with the Garrison Operations Joint Health Command and the Directorate of Army Health, Army Headquarters. His achievements in designing models of healthcare delivery, implementing cultural reform, and setting the foundations for clinical governance standards have resulted in a high quality of care given to ill, injured, and wounded Australian Defence Force personnel. He's also supported the Australian Army Health Reserves through the rejuvenation of recruitment, training, and professional development. Brigadier Seidel's dedication has ensured superior health outcomes for all members of the Australian Defence Force. Brigadier Isaac Seidel appointed a member of the Order.
Thanks very much. Thanks, sir. It's all make sure that lots and merits. We need it behind. Congratulations.
To be presented with the insignia of her award of the Medal of the Order in the General Division, Mrs. Margaret Cornwall, for service to the community of the Australian Capital Territory. Mrs. Cornwall has a deep connection to Canberra and has contributed to the life of the community over many years. She is passionate about education and equal opportunity for girls and has had a strong association with the Canberra Girls Grammar School beginning some 60 years ago as a student. She is most ably served on the school's board and its Grammarians Association Committee. Additionally, she's an active member and supporter of St Paul's Anglican Church and a horticultural volunteer at the Rose Gardens of Old Parliament House. Mrs. Cornwall's dedication to the people of this city is sincerely appreciated. Mrs. Margaret Cornwall awarded the Medal of the Order. To be presented with the insignia of her award of the Medal of the Order in the General Division, Ms. Georgina Pincus, for service to the community of the Australian Capital Territory. Ms. Pincus is one of Canberra's unsung heroes. She's made an outstanding contribution to our community, particularly through the preservation of public facilities and spaces and aged care reform. Following a successful public service career in the ACT government, she's devoted herself to making a positive difference to a range of community initiatives, notably to the protection of the land, environment and heritage of Canberra. She's also been an advocate for the provision of high-quality aged care, equity and inclusion. Ms. Pincus's commitment to the progress and well-being of Canberra's residents is acknowledged today. Ms. Georgina Pincus awarded the Medal of the Order. To be presented with the insignia of his award of the Conspicuous Service Cross, Lieutenant Colonel James Bryant, for outstanding achievement as Recruiting Liaison Officer, Army. Lieutenant Colonel Bryant was vital in the planning of new lines of recruiting operations in the Directorate of Recruiting and Retention. Under his leadership, Army personnel recruitment has achieved improved outcomes. In a recruitment environment characterised by significant competition for a diminishing talent pool, he simplified Army's enlistment policies and processes while undertaking numerous marketing operations. Lieutenant Colonel Bryant has dedicated himself to the rapid remediation of Army's historical recruitment challenges. Lieutenant Colonel James Bryan, awarded the Conspicuous Service Cross.
James and I go back to Somalia in 1993, so this is a great pleasure for me to present this to him today. This way. Congratulations.
To be presented with the insignia of his award of the Conspicuous Service Medal, Major Paul Lambert, for meritorious achievement as the Officer Commanding 138 Signal Squadron. Major Lambert led the transition of 138 Signal Squadron from the Chief Information Officer Group to Army, whilst driving the development of Defence's cyberspace operations capability to achieve excellent outcomes. He developed an innovative training continuum in consultation with Defence, interagency and coalition partners. Under his leadership, 138 Signal Squadron is now optimised to deliver Defence's cyberspace operations capability in support of combined joint interagency task force operations. Major Lambert has brought great credit upon himself and the 7th Signal Regiment. Major Paul Lambert awarded the Conspicuous Service Medal. To be presented with the insignia of his award of the Conspicuous Service Medal, Group Captain Paul Carpenter, for meritorious achievement in joint air operations and force generation of command and control personnel for the Royal Australian Air Force. Group Captain Carpenter displayed superior joint air operations planning skills as the Chief of Strategy and Combat Plans for Air and Space Operations Centre. He developed air defence plans, force postures, and command and control systems in support of air control measures for strategic major events. He developed a detailed force generation model and the training plan during the conduct of command exercises, including Joint Warfare Series 2018 and 2019, and exercises Talisman Sabre and Pacific Sentry 2019. Group Captain Carpenter's expertise in joint operations, air planning and force generation has been exceptional. Group Captain Paul Carpenter awarded the Conspicuous Service Medal. To be presented with the insignia of her award of the Public Service Medal, Ms. Coralie McAllister, for outstanding public service to education in the Australian Capital Territory. Ms. McAllister's advocacy of key initiatives was integral to reshaping the ACT Education Directorate's industrial framework, including delivery of a funding model that responds to the needs of students. Her leadership of the design and implementation of the Directorate's cultural integrity framework has also improved the experiences of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander students attending Canberra's public schools. Her efforts relating to the ACT Government's Future of Education strategy has resulted in significant reform to education since the establishment of the colleges system some 40 years ago. Ms. McAllister's dedication has greatly improved education outcomes for the students in Canberra. Ms. Coralie McAllister awarded the Public Service Medal. To be presented with the insignia of his award of the Australian Fire Service Medal, Mr. Christopher Zeitelhofer, for distinguished service to the ACT Fire and Rescue. Mr. Zeidelhofer joined the then ACT Fire Brigade in April 1988 and has served at various fire stations across Canberra since that time. He's risen through the ranks and was promoted to his current position of Superintendent in 2019. In addition to being the first senior officer on scene of many major incidents, he's also been responsible for recruit firefighter training programs. He's been an active member of ACT Fire and Rescue's peer support team since 1997, which supports firefighters who have been exposed to traumatic incidents. Mr. Zeidelhofer has demonstrated outstanding commitment to the safety of Canberra community for over 32 years. Mr. Christopher Zeidelhofer awarded the Australian Fire Service Medal.
Particularly grateful for the work you put into those who have experienced trauma. It's a very important part of it. Good back. Well
done. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the presentations this morning.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've acknowledged each of the recipients individually. I think it would be appropriate now if you would join me acknowledging them as a group. Well done. Now to your homework. In the general division, the civilian division of the order, you will notice the range of contributions that people have made to our community. And of course, it goes broader than that. This morning, with the small numbers we are involving in each ceremony, we only get a small idea of the scale and scope of contribution. But when you go back to your community, you know people who are performing, committing, giving their time, volunteering for each other, for the community. Your homework is to go back and nominate those people. And I will mark your homework in a year or two when they come through that door to be acknowledged for their contribution. Some other important things to bear in mind. Again, difficult to see in the smaller numbers we have in each of the ceremonies at the moment. But in our annual awards list, only about 40% of recipients are women, which is not good enough. And our multicultural and Indigenous representation is not where it should be. So again, I would ask for those here and those watching, go back to your communities, look around, you know the people, and please nominate. The country is far better off to have these people acknowledged and celebrated for what they do. So thank you for that. Then I look forward to catching up with you all as we complete this ceremony, get to know you a bit better and celebrate with you on this very, very special day for our recipients. Thank you again.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to assist with the homework that the Governor-General has issued, I do encourage you to look at the Governor-General's website, where you'll find plenty of information available on how to nominate someone that you think is worthy for recognition within the Order of Australia. As the Governor-General said, we look forward to welcoming those successful nominations back to an investiture ceremony such as this in a year or two's time. Ladies and gentlemen, shortly I'll invite you to stand for the departure of Her Excellencies the Governor-General and Mrs Hurley and the recipients as they proceed to the state entrance for a formal photograph. If the guests would remain briefly in this room until such time as Your Excellencies and the recipients have left, then we'll invite you to proceed through to the Lakeside Terrace where refreshments will be served. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please stand for the departure of Her Excellencies the Governor-General and Mrs Hurley and the recipients. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you very much. I now invite you to follow Lynette through to the Lakeside Terrace where refreshments will be served. Her Excellencies and recipients look forward to joining you shortly. Thank you and a very good morning.
Thank you.